Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking here on Capnclydes MTG. We got more Doctor Who, Cool Whip. Anyway, here for you today. Before we get started, don't forget comment, like, subscribe. We're on Rumble, TCG Player, eBay, Patreon, you name it. Help support the channel. Keep us sponsor free. I don't want to see ads on here as much as you don't either. So let's get into it. We got quite a few things to go over and quite a few reprints, to be honest. So, we're starting off with a brand new planar shift card. Excuse me. Just got done eating. North Pole Research Base. I love it. TARDIS, Santa. It's fantastic. Anyway, Planet Earth, at the beginning of your upkeep, target opponent draws a card and creates a treasure token. I guess it is Christmas, right? Hey, have a gift. Whenever chaos ensues, create a 2/2 white alien creature token. When you do, tap target non-token creature an opponent controls, put a stun counter on it. Um, I mean, if you're group hugging, this is fine, I guess. Very interesting. All right, moving on. Into the cards. Next, we have a couple I missed yesterday. It got put in really late, so I didn't get them on my stream, so I waited a little later today to do my stream. We have Psychic Paper, 2 colorless equipment. When it becomes attached to a creature, choose a creature card name and a creature type. Equipped creature has Ward 1, and it cannot be blocked. And its name and creature type are the last chosen name and creature type. So, basically false papers. Anyhow, rotating fireplace, 3 colorless. Rotating fireplace, and there's the battlefield tap with a time counter on it. You can tap, add an amount of colorless equal to the number of time counters on rotating fireplace. Very interesting. 4 colorless, tap it, time travel, activate only as a sorcery for each suspend card you own and each permanent you control with a time counter. So there's what time counters mean. Not only is it suspend, but also there's going to be things with time counters on them. So very cool. This might be one of the best mana rocks for some decks. Seeing how for suspend decks, it's amazing and it just becomes bigger. So next we have Into the Time Vortex, red and 4 colorless with Cascade and Rebound. So basically for 5 mana, you get to cast something 4 or less. It rebounds, which means at the beginning of your next turn on upkeep, you may cast it again, i.e. cascading again for 5, which means you get something again 4 or less. So for 5 mana, you get up to 8 mana worth of stuff, plus casting things for free. This is going to be a very popular card. And also very good. Yeah. Next we have Madame Vastra, green, blue, and 2, 3/3 legendary creature, lizard detective. Interesting. You partner it with Jenny Flint. Must block if able. Whenever a creature dealt combat damage by Vestra dies, or whenever a creature dealt combat damage. Whenever a creature is dealt this must be translated. Whenever a creature dealt combat damage. Okay, so whenever this thing deals a creature and that creature dies, you create a clue or a food token. We'll summarize it, make it simple. All right, next we have Strax, Sonoron Nurse, green, red, and 3 for a 5/5 Vigilance Trample. Pretty good rate. Grenades is apparently the ability for 2 and tapping. Sacrifice an artifact, choose a player at random. When you do, fights another target creature that player controls. Also has Glory of Battle. Whenever Strax deals damage to a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on it. That's just amazing. I'm not even going to lie. Not only does it randomly kill things if that person has creatures, but it gets bigger in the process, so really cool. Next we have Surge of Brilliance. Blue and 1 instant. Has Paradox, which is draw a card for each spell you've cast this turn from anywhere other than your hand. So, not Storm, but kind of Storm. Sort of. And of course it has Foretell, so, you can put it, into Foretell zone. That way you can at least get 1 out of it. But it'd be cool if you get a couple cards from outside for 2 mana to draw 3 or something like that. But all in all, it's going to be 4. So 4 mana, draw 2 is probably the rate you're going to get, except it's going to be piecemealed out in 2 different sections. So Just probably an okay card, but potential to be huge. All right, next we do have Jenny Flint, the other side of the card we just looked at. Red, blue, and 1, 2/2. Partner with Vostra. First strike has training. Ooh, haven't seen that in a while. That means whenever this creature attacks another creature with greater attacks with another creature with greater power, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on this one. And whenever you sacrifice a clue or food, which the other card gives you, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature. So you could basically make the training constantly go off. Pretty cool. Next, we have Neradol, Resourceful Cyborg. Blue and 1 for a 1/2 legendary artifact creature scientist. Tap, add a blue for each counter on Nardol. Jeez. Spin only to cast non-creature spells. Has Undying. It's a Doctor's Companion, so I mean it's okay. It can easily be put in any deck with a Doctor if you need the extra mana, so it's kind of cool. It does have Undying, so it doesn't always go back. You got to kill it twice for it to go back into exile for you to recast it, so it stays around a little longer. Decent card if you're into, I don't know, all spells deck, I guess. Next we have, that's right, we actually got some decent land cycles. Well, we got good lands, we got bad lands, so let's go over them. We did get a Deserted Beach, which is, it enters the battlefield tap unless you control 2 or more other lands. So that's fantastic. Good land, decent reprint. Evolving Wilds, it's gonna be here, whatever. Excited Orchard is a good reprint for a land in this set. Frostboil Snarl is not good, but it is better than just the basic tap lands that give you a life. At least this one has the possibility of coming into play untapped. Maybe. Anyway, do love the art, especially the little guy here on the beach. Next set of lands that we have are actually some pretty decent ones as well. We got Sky Cloud Expanse. Now, not the best, but if you have 2 land out, it does produce a white and a blue. So, by itself, it does nothing, but with another land, it does we call them filter lands. So it's a good land. We have Rogue's Passage. I mean, a colorless creature can't be blocked. It's whatever. Nobody really cares, probably. Stormcarved Coast, another one that if you have 2 or more lands, it comes to play untapped. You know, multicolor land, which is good. Same for Sundown Pass, white and red. So we're getting some decent lands. We saw some other decent lands yesterday with the lands that come into play, deal 1 damage to you. You can sack and draw cards. So lots of good lands in this cycle of Commander decks. Here we have a Mystic Monastery. Enters the battlefield tap, but you get 3 mana. This is what we normally expect to see in these kind of things, but we do get some other good ones along with it. Path of Ancestry. It's a decent common. I mean, it's reprints, whatever. Port Town reprint. Not bad. Again, sometimes it's going to come into play untapped, and that's just good enough. Plus, these decks have things like Prairie Streams, which enters the battlefield tap unless you control 2 or more. They are plains islands. So this does play with this, just like these lands here will play with the other ones. Did I miss? Nope, that's the first. Prairie Stream's the first one. But there'll be a card like this probably for every color, for the most part, inside the decks. So, yeah. At least we're getting some decent playable lands. Can you upgrade them? Yes, definitely still can. But believe me, we're way above how bad it was before. We got the red-white Snarl. Again, better than nothing. Maybe it'll come into play untapped. We did get Glacial Fortress. Again, maybe it'll come into play untapped. We have Irrigated Farmland, another white-blue one that will let you use a plains or island side to get something in play untapped. Plus it cycles, so that's actually pretty good, all things considered. So I expect to see more cards like this as spoilers keep coming out inside these decks. The basic Mirrodin Landscape. I mean, this is fine. It's a good fetch land, what have you. Although I really think the Shire from Lord of the Rings is better than this because it does tap for mana. Plus, you can go get anything you want. The bonus side on this one is you get 2 basics. So it's probably a little more on the up and up. Because when they share land types, you can get the Plains Island and a Plains, so forth and so on. So not bad. Moving on, next we have brand new look at Command Tower. It's pretty sweet. It's a TARDIS. I love it. So kudos. Next we have Lunar Hatchling. That is a blue, green, and 4 for a 6/6 flying trampler, which is amazing. Great. Has basic land cycling for anything for 2 mana, which is phenomenal. Plus it has escape, which for the same amount of mana, you exile a land you control, um, exile 5 other cards from your graveyard, and you can play this out of your graveyard. Now, obviously, you're not going to get a land and then exile this. But early in the game, if you put it in your graveyard, later when you draw a land and you don't want it, you can use that land to make this. So it's really cool dynamic there, and I like this card a lot for that. Return to the past, 2 red and 4. As long as it's your turn, each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback. Its flashback cost is equal to its mana cost. This is going to be a busted card. This is basically a past in flames every turn, no matter what, on your turn. That you don't have to pay for more than once. So like on my turn, I can opt and then opt again. This is going to be huge in a lot of decks, so look for it. We have the Flaming Tyrannosaurus because that's what happens in life. 2 red and 5 for this 5/5 menace bad boy. It has Paradox, so whenever you cast a spell from anywhere in your hand, it deals 3 damage to any target, and you put a +1/+1 counter on it. Wow, was that huge? But for 7 mana, it probably ought to be. When it dies, it deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. That is also really cool for 7. So yeah, this is probably going to be a decent card in some decks. And then we have a brand new picture of Thought Vessel, which is the Time Watch. So very, very sweet. Not only that, we got other cool reprint rocks. For example, we have a brand new Arcane Signet. Also here, we have the Thriving Bluff, which is the red one. It enters play tap. You get to choose color other than red, and you can either pick one of the other colors when you tap it. Basically, dual land. Made their Premier and Jumpstart and are great cards for cheap commander decks. Thespian Stage got a reprint, so taps for a colorless can become a copy of any of target land, so that's a great card to add. It has lost a lot of value though, so I mean you're not getting a lot of value with it, but you get a lot of value when it comes to playing the deck. Next we have Graham O'Brien, green and 1 for a 2/2 with Paradox. Again, you cast a spell from outside your hand, you get to create a food token, Doctor's Companion, so not bad. It's okay. All right, we get Temple set. We got Temple of Enlightenment, Epiphany, and Triumph. We'll probably have the other temples in there probably as well. We also get a Temple of the False Gods reprint. That is really cool. Art on these are great. These will probably help. I'm not really impressed with these. These are easy and cheap to get. A Temple of the False God include is not bad, not good, but it is better than these temples here. So it is what it is. Next we have, here's the rocks I were talking about. So we have a complete talisman reprint of, it looks like almost all the talismans. We have, the pictures also great, Impulse, Indulgence, Progress, Unity, yada, yada, yada. All reprints from Modern Horizons, all big players in Commander. And we just didn't get these 4. We got all 8. So other good ones here, you got the goggles, you've got 3D specs, you've got the bow tie, and even dominance. So like the great conviction, great talisman reprints to help the decks out. Real happy about that. All right, so next we'll go into some more cards. Kate Stewart, white, red, blue, and 1 for a 3/3. Whenever you put 1 or more time counters on a permanent you control, create a 1/1 white soldier token. Whenever Kate Stewart attacks, you may pay 8 colorless. Holy crap, that's a lot. If you do, attacking creatures get +X in a turn, where X is the number of time counters among permanents you control. That could be a thing. We'll have to wait and see. Judon Enforcers, white, red, and 5 for an 8/8 Trampler. No more than 1 creature can attack you each combat. That's really cool. It also has Suspend. So on turn 3, you can have this out by turn 9. Or you can put it in there in turn 2, have it out by turn 8. If you got a couple rocks. So great card. Can protect you and gives you something to do early game as well, so not bad. Fractured Identity, blue, white, and 3 sorcery, exile target, non-land permanent. Each player other than its controller creates a token that's a copy of it. Boy, that's gonna be a lot of feel bads for somebody. Anyway, next we have Coward and Killer. We have a fuse card. For Coward, it says target creature can't block this turn and becomes a coward in addition to its other types until end of turn. Time travel. So again, if you guys remember what time travel is, you can add a time counter or remove a suspend or add a suspend counter to anything. Killer deals 3 damage to target creature and each other creature that shares a creature type with it for 4. Wow. That seems like a really good card for red. I do like that one a lot. Next we have Raxa, Empress of Mars. 2 red and 4 for a 5/4 trampler. Very nice. Has Battle Cry. So whenever this creature attacks, each other attacking creature gets +1/+0 to end a turn, which is amazing since this thing's a 5/4 and tramples. Also has Paradox, where if you cast a spell from anywhere in your hand, you create a 2/2 red alien creature warrior token, which means you literally can make an army in a box. Or is it army in a can? Army in a box. Army in a pop can. Army in an MRE. Anyway, you get the point. Next we have Danny Pink, blue and 3 for a 4/3 with Mentor. So whenever this creature attacks, you put a +1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with lesser power. Creatures you control have whenever 1 or more counters are put on this creature for the first time each turn, draw a card. So he basically says 4 mana, I tap, attack with something else, and draw a card. Very powerful, very amazing. I think it's going to have a lot to do, especially in blue-red decks where you make tokens. Or blue-white, be honest. Next we have Bill Potts, red and 3. 2/4, whenever you cast instant or sorcery spell that targets only Bill Potts, or activate an ability that targets only Bill Potts, copy that spell or ability. You may choose new targets for the copy. This ability triggers only once each turn, and this thing's a Doctor's Companion. This is very powerful, as you can play spells like Lightning Bolt, target this, and then bolt something else. And you're probably thinking, why the hell would you do that? Well, sometimes you got to do some weird stuff to get around some things. Also, if you attach something to this, where if you deal damage to it, it does something to somebody else, you don't care to bolt this and then bolt something else. Plus, if you're playing protection spells, all you got to do is keep protecting this card, and any other cards you want to protect will also be protected, which means they can either kill the other card or focus on this one. It becomes a very cool mini game of what do I kill first and how the hell do I kill it. Next, you have Flatline. Blue and 2 instant creatures your opponents control have base power and toughness 0/1 to the end of turn. That is, wow. Nothing like your opponent swinging in and you say, hey, thanks for attacking all those 0/1s. I'm now going to gank your entire battlefield of creatures. Really good blue card. The blue's not known for having a bunch of creatures on the battlefield, but you splash this on another deck that makes creatures that's playing blue, this can be a removal spell. All right, moving on. Next, we have a Confession Dial. 3 colorless. When it enters the battlefield, you surveil 3, not bad already. Target legendary creature card in your graveyard gains escape till end of turn. Escape cost equals to its mana cost, plus exile 3 other cards. So with this, when you play it, and as long as there's something in your graveyard you want, you can surveil 3 things into the graveyard, immediately get it back just by tapping this. This is very powerful because it doesn't have a cost to activate, so you always have access to all your mana to play anything in your graveyard. I think this is going to be, as Confession Dial goes, a very powerful artifact to have in several decks. Next, we have Twice Upon a Time. So this is actually an adventure card. First time we've seen that in these reviews. 2 blue and 4. It says it's a sorcery. Cast this spell only if you control 2 or more doctors. Okay. Take an extra turn after this one. Exile Twice Upon a Time. Not bad. 6 mana time walk if you beat the condition. For a blue and 2, though, the adventure is search your library for a doctor card, reveal it, put it into your hand. So it can guarantee you your 1 doctor as a commander, and you go get a doctor. All it's got to do is they just got to stay alive, which sometimes is harder than you think. But a time walk is still a time walk is still a time walk. So there you go. Wreck and Rebuild. Green, red, and 1 sorcery. You get to choose 1 out of 2 things. Destroy target artifact or enchantment, or mill 5 cards, then you may put a land card from your graveyard onto the battlefield tap. Notice it says from your graveyard, not of the 5 milled. So it's very good. Plus flashback 5. This has a lot going for it. Probably the best thing is if they're not playing artifacts or enchantments, which is probably you're not going to run into a deck that doesn't have artifacts and enchantments, but on the off chance you do, you can mill 5 cards and maybe get a land out of it, which at least gives you something to do with it. And sometimes that versatility is just good enough. You have Become the Pilot, 2 blue and 3. Enchant non-commander creature. You control enchanted creature. Enchanted creature gets +2/+2 and can't be blocked unless it's attacking its owner or a permanent its owner controls. So 5 mana control magic that lets you punch anybody else in the face just on a whim, except for whoever controls it. This is going to be a great card to include for lots of different reasons. Does your friend like playing Eldrazi? Well, guess what? Take his Eldrazi and punch him in the face with it. Or take your friend's Eldrazi and punch your guy you don't like in the face with it. Whatever. I think this is why I can see a little bit of play. Maybe not a whole lot. It's really going to depend on what you're working with, probably. Next, we have coming in, we have Inspiring Refrain. 2 blue and 4 sorcery to draw 2 cards, and then you exile Expiring Refrain with 3 time counters on it. Which means you cast it again. So for 6 mana, you get 2 cards now, 2 cards later. Or for 3 mana, you can just suspend it for 3 turns and then get 2 cards if you want to cast it early. I mean, it's okay as a rare. You really want to cast this when you're at 6. But the ability to do it on 3, if you got nothing else going on, is probably just fine. We have Clock Spinning. This is pretty much a reprint. 1 blue, buy back 3 colorless. Choose a counter on target permanent or suspended card. Remove a counter from that permanent or card or put one on it. So you can add, remove counters like crazy for 4 mana, and the card never goes away. Not bad. We have a reprint of Grasp of Fate. When it enters the battlefield, for each opponent, exile up to 1 target non-land permanent that player controls until Grasp of Fate leaves play. Not too bad. I'm pretty sure this was just reprinted in Wilds of Eldraine, but I do like the new picture, and it's not a bad card in general. Maybe it wasn't Wilds of Eldraine, so here it's a rare. Was the other one a rare? I think the other one might have been a rare. Wow, was the other one a rare? I can't even remember anymore. Well, anyway, no point in dwelling on the past. Let's go. So, Out of Time. 2 white and 1 for an enchantment that says when Out of Time enters the battlefield, untap all creatures. Then those creatures phase out until Out of Time leaves the battlefield. Put a time counter on Out of Time for each creature that phased out this way, and it has Vanishing. So this is a good way to put it into play, get all the creatures off the battlefield to buy you some time until they come back after this vanishes. Or it's a real good way to get rid of a whole token swarm, at least for the time being, to save you. So I think this is probably going to see a lot of play in white, especially white that doesn't play with a lot of creatures and is trying to just do some stall tactics. So seems like a pretty good card. Next we have Dan Lewis, red and 1 for a 2/2. Oh, wow. I did not go in there and actually do translations. I'm joking. I got the translations right here. So, for Dan Lewis, red and 1 for a 2/2. Legendary creature human, non-creature, non-equipment artifacts you control are equipment in addition to their other types and have equipped creature gets +1/+0 and equip 1. It's also a Doctor's Companion. Okay, so non-creature, non-equipment artifacts. So any artifact in your deck can now be equipped, that includes mana rocks, to any creature to give it +1/+0 for 1. Is that good? I think so. Because it's a companion. Late game, when you got nothing going on, no cards in your hand, a bunch of mana rocks you're not doing anything with at the time, or whatever else it is you got going on, you can put this in play and start attaching a bunch of your mana rocks or whatever it is to this guy or whoever. And now you have a giant thing to swing with. So I like this card a lot. I think it's got a lot of possibilities for utility in a lot of decks, especially as a companion. So there's that. Next we have Inner Worm. I'm joking. It's called a Memory Worm. So it's 1 red and 1 alien worm. It has Paradox, which if you guys don't remember, it's whenever you cast a spell from anywhere other than your hand. What this one does, it deals 2 damage to target player. That player discards a card, then draws a card, put a +1/+1 counter on Memory Worm. So it's kind of like your Merfolk Looter that you use on them to make them discard and draw and take 2 damage for it. It's like a little shield druid, except you control when it happens, kind of, sort of thing. It is a target player, so you could technically do it to yourself if you really feel froggy, I guess. But it is only a 1/1 to start with, but it gets +1/+1 every time you activate it, so you can get large quick, so don't be fooled by this card. Next, we have Quantum Misalignment, blue and 4. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control, except it isn't a legendary, plus it has rebound. There's a very popular card like this already for a blue and 3 that does the exact same thing without rebound. This is only one more mana for you to get to do it twice. I think this is definitely going to see play because of that. Plus, um, I mean, it just seems good. I mean, because you can get tokens, um, or anything that you have, no matter what. So that's probably why it's a little cheaper. The card that's a blue and 3 can target anything. This can only target creatures. So there's probably a trade-off there on which one of those you want to use. Rebound is clearly better. However, if you have, for example, planeswalkers or whatever you want to copy, this is probably not your jam. So there's that. All right, and then we're gonna have the Frost Fear Lure Fish. Frost Fair, Fear. Anyway, we got giant angler fish. Red, blue, 5/7/7. When it enters the battlefield, create 2/1/1 blue fish creature tokens and 2 tapped treasure tokens. So you can't use the treasure tokens immediately, but you do get 2 mana back, so technically it's 5. Fish you control have haste and can't be blocked by humans. Foretell for 5. So you can foretell this for 2 and then cast it for 5, so you could technically get this out on turn 5, which makes this honestly just an amazing card, in my personal opinion. But yeah, there's that. So that's all we got for today. Not as many cards as yesterday, but quite a few and a lot of good ones. Lots of good reprints. A good land cycle has been shown. So I'm really hyped with this. I hope you guys are too. At the end of the day, it's going to be fun for Commander. I don't really see anything yet going to make any real, let's say, impact anywhere else that we normally used to see in like Legacy or any of that jazz. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. So, till next time, be kind, and as always, I hope to see you across from the game table. Boy, tomorrow's probably going to be off the cards. It's going to break everything. This is how that rolls.